Welcome back to day 72 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. Let's just jump on ahead into our game. We get Don't Sweat LT1 from the US. From the US we get 1e4 and we'll play the Sicilian. Do we get another open Sicilian? Seems like we might just see an open Sicilian again today. And now I'm honestly regretting not having looked at theory since yesterday. But well, this shouldn't be the end of the world. This move prevents b5. But does it allow anything else here for us? My intuition here tells me this, although it's quite awkward moving the queen at this point, might be a good move. The reason I'm seeing this is because here they lose the rook and we are able to play b5 and we pin the knight so we can pick up this pawn as well. But we don't necessarily have to rush this idea. I think we have time to play like this and get our bishop out to this nice diagonal. Playing it somewhat. Oh, we get this, okay. Now I think we just keep up with our plan. This was a pre-move by our opponent. Let's come up with a knight, I think. Target our opponent's knight. We can't go here because this gets defended by the queen. We could castle. I think I'd prefer castling first and then maybe coming out. I don't think there should be much of a difference. I'll try to play a bit quickly here because the moves shouldn't vary all that much in strength. And we might need our time later on. I've had a couple of discussions regarding the time usage, etc., of my games recently, and I don't quite know what I've settled at in terms of what I'd like to play, but I might be inclined towards playing a bit quicker in positions like this. This is played, e6 might be a move, e5 might be a move, those are candidate moves, this might be a move, this is not a move in this position. b6 would prepare this idea, just developing our bishop. Let's follow this line. I don't see a lot of merit in trading off our bishop. And I think, which square do I prefer for our knight? We can have this maneuver, or we could, no, I don't like this. So here I guess we could come up here and hit this, and we can come in here. I think those moves here are quite similar, but I'd like to come up here, which is a bit more active. We get a slow improving move. We still can't play this. Our opponent's setup prevents it. So maybe we'll play a bit slower here. Queen to c7 makes some sense to me. This is just an improving move, but still I think this might be a better version of it because of this. However, I don't quite like how our queen ends up so offside. So I think we'll go for this first. And then maybe look for this, which is a bit of a cagey setup. But we'll try to expand with some pawn breaks as time goes on here. I think we might have d5 now. Our opponent can't push. So it takes, we take and generate some pressure. Let's say we take, can they push here? That's a bit weakening, I think. But we can still play this move, I think. So maybe we'll start out with this move. Getting the rook onto the file preemptively, prior to playing d5 and breaking the center open. This still shouldn't be playable. Now we have d5. This develops the bishop, but this move prevents the bishop from coming out here where our opponent might want it to come. I still think I'd like to go for this idea here. If they push, once again we come and take, and I think we should win a pawn. Here again, we'll take with the knight, or we could take with the rook. However, our rook would become a target here, which might not be ideal. So I think we'll go here. Now they can take, or rather they can come up with tempo here if we don't take with the knight, because this knight here protects. So this should prevent this immediate move. Still, we are staring down here. I'd like to get our bishop out, maybe down here. Bishop to e6 looks like a decent square. I prefer this diagonal, but do we have time to play this? We would also be blocked by our knights for the time being, which might not be ideal. Let's see, we don't have a lot of knight moves either. We are somewhat restricted here. This probably prepares something down here, but then we can come up with the pawn, but then we don't want the bishop there if we want to play e6. So if we want to play e6, I guess the bishop goes here instead, which makes b6 quite a logical move. Yeah, we'll double fianchetto, I think, and come. Or actually, do we have this? Let me just check this quickly. I realize we can hit this bishop and the queen. It's a bit difficult to protect the bishop adequately, at least. We can come up here as well with a knight afterwards. So we might get this and force a pretty decent position. Let me just check quickly here so I don't miss anything here. This, I think if we go here, the bishop can't move. First of all, they can't check our king. So if the bishop can't move, it has to be protected, or we have to be captured. Let's have a look at their defensive maneuvers. If we go here and go like this, now the bishop would be lost. Unless they come here, but then they pin us, so we can't actually apply further pressure after this. Okay. Maybe we can actually. How about this move? And then they have to take, and we take. I'm not entirely convinced. So let's develop first. I don't think we have to rush those things. We can come up here. It was a way of grabbing the bishop here, but it did help our opponent develop a bit as well, rather, and I didn't quite think we improved our position at least. This we don't have to react immediately. This is adequately defended. If something like this, we have this outpost, and this would hit the bishop as well. We have to be sure here, or make a note rather, that this bishop is quite annoying for our opponent, as it's only defended by the queen, and we have an easy way of creating a skewer, or a pin rather. This pawn prevents us from coming in here and applying pressure with this knight, but we'll see what we can get done. Now we couldn't quite come up here with the bishop. Now I think we have this move, which should win material, because they can't come back with the knight. No, it shouldn't quite win material actually, but it should force this. Takes, they are pinned, and we can apply further pressure, I think. This knight here keeps this pawn defended at the end of the line, so I'm not all that worried. Do we have another way of doing this? I can't quite see it. Takes. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and grab the bishop here, as this does look quite promising with the open position here. It seems our opponent expected this, considering the quick response. That doesn't necessarily change how decent it's going to be for us. We can't come here, mainly because of this knight. The rook doesn't quite prevent us from doing so. The opponent breaks the pin. So now I think we'll just come up here and finish our development. This configuration down here is quite non-threatening, I think. Well, our opponent could come here perhaps, targeting our knight, and this might be a bit annoying. How should we approach this? Okay, let's have a quick look. If we go here, they come here. We can just play e6, I think, and we got ourselves covered. This, and we take. So I think we're in a pretty okay spot here. Now the knight jumps backwards. Can we come in here and annoy the bishop? And then I think they just move, and we don't have a lot as a follow-up. So instead, where should we move our queen? We can't go here. Can't go here or here, so we have quite limited squares. We can't go here either. This is a really bad square. It's quite offside. This disconnects our rooks, so it's going to be this or this move. This move was the first one I looked at really, but then we are going to be in the line of the rooks quite quickly, so maybe coming back here and taking it from there might be good. But honestly, is this much of a threat? Well, it's annoying and might cost us another tempo. So let's come back. This is defended. We can still push. Maybe double rooks here. Open up our bishop at some point with a knight move. This knight jumps back. We have this move now. This opens up this and allows for this, but this seems quite slow of a move. So if we jump in, I guess we can expect this to happen. But is this good for us? Maybe instead we'll go on ahead here and come up like this. We can't be attacked here. The bishop can't come. So I'd like to maybe continue developing instead. Here, here. Now let's just develop and ask our opponent why they are moving their pieces back and undeveloping. Now we just get free tempo, and I'm quite happy with this position here. If this pawn ever moves, we have this kind of an idea with both the outpost here and this fork. The knight comes in, presumably to this outpost, but if it comes, we take. Our queen is defended by the rook. Let me just calculate quickly. Here, here. Takes, takes, takes. Oh, this is even better for us. This knight can't come to either square here then. Yeah, so let's just get our last piece into the game, and then I think we should be in a good spot. The bishop comes back. Maybe our opponent just wants to trade off the horses, or the rooks rather. That seems likely. Maybe something like this might be good, but first of all I'd like to play e6, so this never hangs. I'm expecting this or this. But this knight comes back. Okay, so we get a slow maneuvering game. We can't take here. Okay, so if we can't take, maybe we'll hit this knight and aim for this perhaps. Opening up some pieces. If we go here, takes, and we come out here, then we threaten this. Because this knight is not good for us at all now, so I'd like to trade it for a more active piece. Which is my reasoning behind playing this move now, because this knight does a lot more than this knight that just blocks our bishop and our queen, and does not have any good forwards mobility, I think. It could have went here, but I didn't see a whole lot of good ideas. Well, if they take, this should be pretty forced. However, I'd like to check this first. Do we have an in-between move? Okay. This can't be played. Let's calculate this. This. I'm not quite convinced. How about this now? Then this, and this looks annoying. So our opponent is creating quite a powerful position here. Maybe we'll just... no, we can't go here, of course, as I mentioned. Is this playable? Seeking to come here. If they take, we just take. We threaten the rook here. I think this might be good for a remaneuver. And our knight will be greatly improved. If the rook slides over, I think we still come back, perhaps. If this is played, well, then that looks kind of annoying. Let's have a look at this. Oh no, then we can take here, actually, because the queen is pinned. This doesn't accomplish a whole lot by itself. No, here we can't we can't take this pawn like this. Do we have a move like this? Hitting this? Maybe? Yeah, I looked at this, was what I looked at, hitting the queen here. Then we can get over here perhaps, but it's just a remaneuver. This and this. If the queen comes here, the rook comes to this square. Okay. I'm hoping this is okay still. It's just a way of getting our knight out of this position now, because it isn't doing a whole lot, and it's forced this rook to be passive now. If the queen leaves the defense rather of this knight, we can take it and get something like this perhaps, depending on whether it comes. No, we can't quite do it because our knight might hang at the end of the line. So we'll have to see what gets played. But still, we do have a lot of pressure towards our opponent's position now. This is not playable, this is not playable. If the queen comes here, I can't quite see a concrete way of breaking through here. I might be missing something, but from piece play alone, I'm not seeing a whole lot. Okay, let's see here. Now they can take, so the knight has to move. I think we might just be back to where we were at actually. So, but the knight has to move. I don't quite like this. Maybe, or maybe this is good. We can come here actually. I would prefer blocking our bishop instead of the rooks. This might be a better maneuver. It, honestly, we've just been jumping around with this knight now for 4 moves in a row. So yeah, this is quite bad, but I'm trying to find a concrete plan here. Coming here, and we'll just be going full circle again. We can't quite come here, or can we? Maybe we can come there now. Let's come back instead. I don't think the position has changed that much in regards to the things that caused us to not go there earlier on. I don't want to just jump around in an endless circle. If this pawn ever moves, our bishop here becomes quite strong. Now we might have ideas of bishop to h6. Did we have it on this move? Maybe. But I did want to open up our pieces first. Well, if this knight moves now, let's see, if it can't come here, then we take it. Here, and we take it with the queen. Is this a move? It might be met with this. And how does our opponent defend the knight? This might be a move. This might be a move, but it's honestly not ideal. Okay, but the knight does go there. But now do we have this, this, and maybe coming in here? I'm not seeing a concrete follow-up. I'm genuinely not seeing any breakthroughs today. I don't want to just trade. This is no good. Can't come up here. We just have to play. Let's at least trade one piece of rooks. The bishop comes back. Then I think we'll come up with the... No, we can't quite come up with the queen either. A5 might be good. That's just a slight improving move. Just to get a move on the board here. This might be an idea. The queen could come up. And this bishop could get overloaded if we threaten this knight. The knight jumps into the center. Is this a move now? Then it can get onto this outpost. I genuinely dislike this position now. We'll just have to find something. Maybe coming up here. If the knight goes back, we can move our queen to a more active square. Maybe this is good, hitting the knight. Now we do have a few minor threats at least, although we are not really threatening any immediate things, I think. This knight could start jumping as well. Not here though. This doesn't accomplish a whole lot. Maybe this knight has to come back into the game, but where is its ideal outpost? This might be good. Then our opponent can't quite occupy this, or else we'll take and trade the knight off. This, no, the queen comes out. Is there a threat here? I'm not seeing one. I think we'll just jump in here and hit this knight. If the knight takes, we take, and we'll take it from there. Now we could have this move at some point, but I'm not expecting us to do so. If the knight comes back, maybe we'll try to go for this queen trade. To simplify, considering our low time here. I would like to get our bishop out here, controlling the h2 square, so we could have back rank threats, but the knight is currently occupying this. I would like to take here with the queen, but then they have this infiltration. Our queen has to cover this, so if the knight takes, we have to take with the pawn. At least I think so. I don't quite see a good move here. We can't defend the pawn and the bishop there. Now I'm suddenly realizing we had a strong move. Maybe. Namely this. But then coming back here, now we would have won material. Yeah, this would have won material. It's just a fork. Let's see if it's still available on the next move. Although I'm not expecting it to be. But let's say the bishop moves, for example. Then we take here, and we have this. Or, no, then they have this. Because the knight and the pawn would be gone. So let's say this instead. Then we just push immediately. If we're taken, we take like this. So this is not a move. Now we can take with the queen still, of course, because we are intercepting this with our piece on e5. I'm really hoping we get this, although it's not guaranteed, I think. We'll just have to see what our opponent plays first. I'm curious to see what they are calculating now. The knight jumps back. So we might have to go for this, which we looked at a bit earlier on, and retake with the queen. It's unfortunate we missed the fork, but I didn't quite see the move there. I've been saying this for a couple of days now, but I've not been feeling as tactically accurate for the last few days as what I've done previously now, but we'll see if that changes as the days go on now. We trade. If our opponent comes here, we take and we should win a pawn. How about the bishop? I think if this bishop ever leaves the defense of this knight, we force this, and we should have a preferable endgame, I think. We could look to reposition this bishop, depending on what happens. We get this move. It seems our opponent just wants to trade off material here. Let's centralize our king a bit for the endgame that's to come. This knight still can't come forwards. Okay. But do we have this now? This might force this, and then we might come back. But I'm not seeing anything else with our low time here. I'm a bit worried about this. Now this becomes a hook. I don't quite know if this was good for us or not. I'm expecting this move, but if we come here, I'm not seeing the follow-up. Oh, they just take the d file then. That's not ideal, but we'll try to find a way of dealing with it. This, I think, might win a piece. How is the knight defended? If this, we could have this perhaps. Or this rather. If we are checked, we'll come up and hit the rook. I think I'm only really seeing this defensive maneuver, although, yeah, this loses material. So this, and then what happens if we hit this? This is a move. How about this? I can't find the move so quickly here. Let's see. Come up with the king, maybe. This knight still can't move. Do we have this move or do we not? Still looking at this. This might still be a response, but no, we take. Oh, maybe we did have a bishop to h6 last move. This is playable now, and the knight would be defended, which is not ideal, but we'll have to see what happens. No, they jump in, but does this not just win a piece? No, it doesn't. But we have to take because they will take our rook here with a check if we don't. We'll see this. Let's go on ahead and pin this knight. So now those pieces are immobilized for a while. can't quite come in and hit the knight with another piece yet. Their bishop comes back. Do we have... we might have this, and if this is played, our opponent has a few more weaknesses, but I think this might have been better, so this doesn't hit us. We'll see in the review, as per usual. But I'm realizing here, yeah, this is defended now. The rook, rather. We have to move here, because if we took, we can't defend this pawn afterwards. With this move, that might just lose. No, then we take the knight. The knight can't come forwards. It comes into the corner here. Maybe it's looking for this outpost. Let's reposition our knight. This could hit some stuff. I didn't quite like the lack of pressure our knight exerted here. We'll have to come back with our rook. Now this will force this now, but I don't think that's a bad trade for us. This is a quite equal endgame though. Let's see, what do we play here? I think we'll come up and force the trade. Our opponent can't quite infiltrate because of our king, bishop and pawn. So this rook is not really doing a whole lot now. Maybe we'll slide on over with the rook or come back perhaps and find another way of entering the position here. I'd like to get down to this rank. How do we go about doing that? b5 is not quite ideal. We can't quite play this, as it doesn't really work out technically. Maybe centralizing our bishop further, as it can't be easily hit now. This and this maybe, then our pawns might be a bit weak, but we could reposition them to better squares, maybe all dark squares if at all possible. So the bishop can't hit them. We are in an opposite color bishop game here. This gives me some ideas of what our opponent's trying to play. I'm expecting this, but then we just take, right? Yeah, our opponent can't quite play what they want to here, I think. Let's come back with the... No, that's a bit passive, I think. Maybe we can come in here now. Or here even. No, I think here instead. And we could get access to their position. This, and we pin the pawn. Maybe we can come to f4. We have a little standoff here, good positions for the bishops. But then we can try to play with our majority here. We can't come... Oh, okay. I didn't mean to play there, but it's not a bad move at least. Maybe we can play this now and try to hit at the king side. I'd like to grab this rank now, or this D file, to kill off some counterplay, and we can get in and hit this. Still, I think as long as we don't have the D file, our king has to stay on E7 perhaps to cover those squares from an infiltration by the opposing rook. If this is played, I think we go to this idea, as we can't quite grab the D file. We still can't grab the file, rather. But now we can go here, actually. Our opponent's bishop just got worse. They shut down this backwards diagonal. So what do they do about this pawn now? Now this and this is a fork. So I think we should win some material. I'm not seeing a way of defending both of the pawns. This is defended. Okay, but then we take this pawn. And this, well, it's not quite a weakness as long as the bishop defends the stuff here, but it's not ideal for our opponent. I think we'll grab this D file again, so our opponent can't do it. This pawn is going to move. Now we can move our king up. Maybe play for this, and slowly bring our pawns up. If this is played, their structure will be quite locked. We could even go here, but this might be annoying, so we might prevent, or rather not go for that idea. Luckily, our opponent here is slowly running out of time, which is an optimistic sight. But I'm realizing here, if we do play this, I'd like to go here first. We'll hit the pawns, and this might threaten to win a pawn, namely this pawn. I didn't quite like this, because it opens up options for their rook. So maybe we'll play h6. We could play this. I'm not quite happy with what's transposed for the last few moves here. It's a bit difficult to come up with a good plan, but I'll try to see what I can do. I think we might have this now. Our opponent goes first. This is a check, but now I think we should win a pawn here. If this is played, this comes with a check. And we could grab... No, we can't quite do that. But this might threaten a rook trade. Or honestly, I think this is even better. We might just gobble up all of our opponent's pawns. They will just get one. Still, we threaten this pawn as well. Let's take this with a check first, and then we'll cover this, and we'll try to advance our pawns. Maybe we'll hit the king again first. I'd like to play e5 now, actually. No, we just won the game. This is a skewer, and we get the rook. Otherwise, I would have liked to play this and pick up this pawn perhaps, and then play with those outside pass pawns here. But now I think this should be pretty trivial, as our opponent might have realized as well at this point. Let's just cut the king off and advance our pawns. Now the bishop is in a cage. It can't come back, can't go forwards, and we'll just probably go with the a pawn first. The king can't interfere, it can't come in here, so we should just have a smooth win from this point. We can't quite pre-move because the bishop could try to come out or check us, for example. Well, this would interfere with a pre-move, I guess. But now there is zero counterplay. There is nothing to do. The bishop can't move, as I mentioned. This would even trap it if we so desire, but we don't have to, as we can just get a queen instead. This bishop is going to be trapped no matter what happens, and our opponent resigns. Thanks for the game. Well played to our opponent. They put up a really great fight. I can't rematch you, but well played. Let's have a look at the game review. Well played once again to Don't Sweat LT1 from the US. We played with 84.3 today, and our opponent played with 79.0. I see we had 4 misses even today, 4 inaccuracies and 2 mistakes. Our opponent had a lot of inaccuracies as well, but this is quite typical of a kind of Najdorf position. Still, despite all those inaccuracies and misses and blunders, etc., both of us did get a pretty decent game rating. Let's have a look. We got the Najdorf. This move was played, which is not one I'm quite familiar with. I just went with logical developing moves here. This was all good moves. This was okay. We got a better position. Here we should have apparently pushed to e5. Did we have a better move? Or another move, rather? I would have never played e5. That's not a typical move for me, as it blocks the bishop and the pawn might become a weakness. It creates a target for our opponent potentially. It doesn't quite make sense to me intuitively, at least, when we have other files to play on. So instead, h6 was decent, but this didn't lose a lot of evaluation, although it wasn't the most precise move. This was okay, but our best move was developing the bishop. It's not all that surprising. This was good as well. And knight to a5. Okay. We went like this, and this was not ideal. Our best move here was captures on h3. I missed this move. This would have been good for us. As I mentioned, I haven't felt that tactically sharp for the last couple of days. This is just a quite normal tactical pattern, where we win a pawn and open up our opponent's king. This would have been good. We got this instead, I'm glad to see this was the best square. The knight went back, we doubled, we missed something here as well. Let's see, knight to b4, and then what? If the queen comes back, takes on f3. How about this? And we just trade pieces. But then coming back to d1, or going back rather, this is not a human move. The knight is trapped. Unless our opponent plays here, I guess. Then queen to f4, and I guess we just have an attack, but this bishop move, this is not something I would have found easily. d5 was okay as well, I guess, but it wasn't as good. Still, we played here instead, which missed that idea. Honestly, I don't quite mind having missed that idea. It wasn't as obvious, to me at least, as it might have been to the engine. Our best move here, knight to b4. Once again this, which we did play later on, but not in the same way. Here, what happens if they go back though? The knight to d3, and we grab a bishop, and this, I guess, is some progress. We just bulldoze on into the position. I didn't see this either. We went here, and this was where we just jumped our knight around, presumably for fun, but I intended for there to be a reason. Knight to f4, hitting the bishop, opening up attacks here. If knight to b3, we don't even take, we play f5 apparently. Genuinely, I can't quite tell you why this is good, or rather why it's decisively winning. I can't quite see this. I guess that's one of the things that comes with experience, being able to evaluate positions like this, which they don't quite come naturally, at least not to me, not yet. We will get there at one point or another. Yeah, this was okay. This was okay as well. We did have an advantage here for a pretty long time. Let's jump on over to this engine because it's a bit more powerful. This was a mistake. Yeah, it's because of this, which I saw a bit too late. Well, this didn't lose the game either, but it didn't win it. A few more inaccuracies for good measure. Here they should have taken, and we would have taken here. And instead they went back. We should have went all the way back. I guess the computer preferred our activity, or our position rather, and would have liked us to keep our queen. Even taking with the knight here was good. Is he trying to argue for this? Yeah, it might be arguing for hitting this pawn now. I didn't want to close down our rook here, as I wanted immediate activity. But as I think I kind of realized later on, this knight was really bad. It didn't have any squares, so this might be the reason this was best, because we can actually give it a purpose. We move the king. This wasn't particularly good. We went back. all good moves. We never did have a threat here. I didn't quite see one either, but it did force some activity from our opponent. Or force a loss of activity. This was a blunder. Because of... Oh yeah, this is unkind, is what I'd like to call it. We win the rook or the knight. But once again, playing with increment, it's not an easy spot. We went back, kept some pieces here, jumped in. I think I liked this trade a lot. Why this in the game here, I did not realize this rook move intended to defend this pawn. I didn't realize we were attacking this pawn. This was not possible because this pawn would have dropped. So this was unintentionally good. We repositioned. This was good. Yeah, and this was a horribly weakening move here. The bishop could not defend now. And we got this fork. Our best move here was apparently f5. Yeah, well, I guess it makes some sense. We can play for something like this here, and this is always going to fall. Still, no, I think this is more concrete. We went in here. This was not the best move. I didn't quite see a good move, so I went for a non-losing one to get some time to think. But this would have won another pawn. h4, and we could have just... No, it wouldn't have won a pawn. It would not have won a pawn until we played like this. Okay, I see. Then it makes sense. We played like this still. Grabbed a pawn, grabbed another pawn. This was good. Our opponent blundered, and here we just won the game like this, and there was no way of stopping our queen promotion. This was a really nice game, breaking our... No, it wasn't quite a losing streak either. We lost 2 games in a row, but still it's nice to stop losing. And we got a win again. Thanks for the game, Don't Sweat. Thank you to the viewers for watching to the end of the video. This has been our game for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.